Good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here this morning. Hope you had a great weekend, and thank you for starting it off here. We'll be starting off the fourth chapter of the book of Acts, beginning in verse 1, and looking at this story. That's a great example, great warning for us all. It says, as they were speaking to the people, the priest and the captain of the temple and the Sadducees came upon them, greatly annoyed because they were teaching the people and proclaiming in Jesus the resurrection from the dead. And they arrested them and put them in custody until the next day, for it was already evening. But many of those who had heard the word believed, and the number of the men came to about 5,000. This passage is a very stark reminder for us. Jesus told us that they persecuted me, and they'll persecute you. And here we see the persecution of the early church is about to begin. This is the first instance we see of persecution of the church. Peter and John were preaching, were speaking to the people, were teaching them when the Jewish religious leaders came because they were angry because they were teaching the people and telling the people that Jesus had been resurrected from the dead. And right off, the Sadducees are going to be angry because the Sadducees did not believe in the resurrection of the dead. They don't believe in any life after death. Way to remember that. I was taught years ago is they didn't believe in life after death. That's why they were sad, you see. And so you can always remember that about the Sadducees. And so they're obviously aggravated because their teaching, it says in verse 2, that Jesus was resurrected from the dead. Again, that was upsetting to them. And so they put him in jail, and they leave them there till the next day. Again, it says for it was already evening. The reason for that was it was forbidden for the Sanhedrin to meet at night. It says, but nonetheless, many who heard the message believed and were saved. And so we see and then it says, and about 5,000 came to the Lord, which is a startling number because if you back up and really think about it, really the first person, if you look at it, chapter 3, when the lame man was healed, was the first person that really you could say was number one. Here we're already up to 5,000. And so staggering growth that has taken place in the church. And so we see, on one hand, we see the church having great success. We see the gospel being proclaimed and people's lives being changed. But that doesn't mean that everybody that was involved in that was winning Man of the Year awards. Instead, it says they were being persecuted. They were being thrown in jail. Another thing we'll see as we continue is that didn't stop them, that they continued to proclaim the gospel. They continued to teach. They continued to preach. And people continued to come to the Lord. And I think the question that raises as we consider this morning is what would it take, or what does it take to get us to be silent? What would it take? What would the world have to do to get us to stop proclaiming the gospel? And if we look around the world, we look around the church today, honestly, I think the answer is obviously not very much. We're not really persecuted. There's no real, in America, there's no law preventing us. There's no real persecution. It may be uncomfortable. Somebody may mock you or laugh at you, but most likely, I don't want to say you won't be, not anymore, most likely won't be thrown in jail, and yet the church is largely silent. But we see in this passage what happens when the church speaks the name of Jesus. When we teach the resurrection of Jesus Christ, people's lives are changed. But we, unfortunately, many times, most of the time in our churches today, we don't proclaim the resurrection of Jesus Christ. We uplift the value of joining the choir. We uplift the value of getting involved in the senior citizens program. You ought to come to Sunday school. You need to come to church even. All kinds of things about the church that we encourage people to be involved in and to be part of. And those are all good things. Don't misunderstand me. But if people join every one of those organizations plus some more, and yet they don't give their heart and life to Jesus and understand the death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus Christ, we have failed in our assignment. What would it take to get you to be silent? Maybe a better question for us today is, what's it going to take to get the Church of Jesus Christ to stand up, to speak up, and proclaim His name loudly and plainly to the lost around us? Have a great day, and we'll see you here tomorrow morning.